Welcome back to OpenLine, talking about immigration. We have with us Lisa Sherman-Nikolaus, Policy Director with the Tennessee Immigrant and Refugee Rights Coalition. A lot of calls, so we're just going to go back to the phones. Jamal, thanks for waiting. Jamal, what's on your mind?
Hi, how you doing tonight, Ben?
Great.
I think we've gotten a little off topic. It's not really about the immigration into the cities. It's more about the border crossing. Everybody's being so protective about this nation. We are a country of immigrants, but it's how people are being portrayed. Because if you can get away with one crime, why can't everybody get away with one crime? And so we should build a city. I mean, all the states should get together. We raise money on GoFundMe accounts, millions of dollars.
Right.
Build a city, and you could have each state donate to that city to bring in these immigrants so they can be taught the language, taught a skill, taught the laws of the land. Because when they come in by breaking the law, they don't know it, and then it becomes a second-class citizenship situation where they can be exploited, and the citizens here feel like, well, they're getting away with something. I've worked all my life for something. Why can't I get away with something? But as a nation, we have the money to support them. We have the room to support them, and they are the country, because we are the country. If you ask 9 out of 10 Americans where they're from, they will say Ireland, England. They won't name a state of America. And America is a built-up country of all immigrants. No one came here. The original people here are the Native Americans, which are the Indians, and we put them on reservations. So everybody needs to just get off that boat of I'm an American citizen and get on the boat of this is the greatest experiment in humanity. And if we do the right thing, we can continue to be the greatest experiment in humanity where everybody can learn and shine.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. He's saying a lot there. What do you think about some of what he's saying there?
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad that he brought up the border. Right now, we have a humanitarian crisis on our border. I think we've forgotten, especially in the media, when we talk about what's happening at the border, that asylum is a right, that every person has the right to seek asylum. And so when we have policies like family detention, when we have policies like remain in Mexico or separating families, that's really not just in contradiction to our values, but really in contradiction to both our international and our national obligations to ensure that every person who is fleeing violence or persecution has a right to have their case heard and processed. And so right now, asylum seekers at our border are waiting months, sometimes years, to be able to have their case heard. And in that meantime, they face huge dangers to their lives, to their families, and then they take risks like what we saw just a few weeks ago, the tragic photo of the father and the daughter who drowned at our border. And that was because they'd been waiting for so long that they got desperate. And so you really have to try and think and empathize with the reason why people leave their homes and the reason why they come here, and try to remember again that asylum is actually a right, and that as a country we should be giving people opportunities to have their case heard. It
is disturbing, and to think also that so many countries are in such bad shape that people feel no choice but to leave in the way they are. And what is the root cause there? Mm-hmm. I mean, why are so many countries in such bad shape that people are risking their lives to leave? Mm-hmm. What about that?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a really deep question about the root causes of migration. I'll just share a little bit about my personal story, but my mom is from Guatemala, and that's where I grew up. My dad is American, and I was born here, but I actually lived in Guatemala most of my life. But my parents made the really difficult choice of leaving Guatemala when I was 17 years old after my younger sister was kidnapped and rescued by a gang. And what separates me from the thousands of people who are crossing our border trying to seek safety and protection is just the privilege of citizenship. It's nothing different. We have the same experience in terms of the security risk we faced, but because my mom married an American and I was born here, we're able to just buy a plane ticket and fly here, whereas thousands of other people who are, fleeing the same kind of violence that we did or worse aren't able to do that.
Wow, okay. Let's go to Taylor. Taylor, Is that you on line 5? Is this you, Taylor? Hi.
This is David. David Guevara.
Okay, David. Okay, go right ahead.
Yes, I'm a Spanish Mexican American, and I used to live in Michigan, and I did ministry over there for the people, and I'm also a veteran. And when I was doing ministry over there, a farmer called me, and they told me that I could go and pick up to 5 acres of red delicious apples. And I said, how come nobody's picking them? They go, we don't have people they want to pick. They go, we got not enough Mexicans. They're all over the state, but here in Holland area, we don't have them, so it's going to waste. So I thought I'd give you 5 acres. You can, take them to the people that need it. They go, but I got acres. I got about 100 acres, and I don't get the people. So, nobody wants to work in the fields anymore. Only the Mexicans, but they don't have enough Mexicans to work here. They work up north, Traverse City and other places where they do all their stuff there. So they're behind on that. And that was about 5 years ago. So I don't know how it is now.
All right. Thank you. What do you think about what he's saying there?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's absolutely right. Immigrants, undocumented immigrants, are doing a lot of low-skill jobs that a lot of native-born people don't want to do. And what we've seen in states like Alabama that have passed really extreme anti-immigrant laws is that crops are rotting in the fields, that farmers don't have people who are able to pick and harvest their land, which again really leads to a ripple effect of hurting our economy as a whole and hurting whole communities who depend on agriculture or other skills like that.
Another issue I want to talk about, DACA. Where does that, I guess, explain that issue, where we are nationally, its impact locally?
Yeah. Well, DACA is a program that was passed by President Obama in 2012 that was really seeking to address the fact that we haven't had any kind of comprehensive immigration reform or pathway to citizenship for the thousands of young children who have grown up here and who haven't been able to get any kind of legal status. And so he established a program that allows them to get a work permit, that allows them to get a driver's license and a social security number, and to be protected from deportation. It's a temporary program that's renewed every 2 years. It's been incredibly successful. We've had more than 8,300 DACA recipients in Tennessee who are working in different industries, who are engineers and teachers, and who are able to really live and give back to their communities to their full potential. Unfortunately, that program was terminated by President Trump in 2017. It's been upheld by the courts, but it's now tied up at the Supreme Court level. And actually just today, the Supreme Court said they would be hearing the DACA case on November 12th, which really throws the future of these young children into jeopardy because we don't know how the Supreme Court will rule. So if you think about these children, these young people, they've grown up here since they were 6, 7 years old. This is the only home they've known. And so now there's a real urgent need for a permanent solution to get them onto a pathway to citizenship.
They signed up under a promise that they would be given certain things, right? Mm-hmm. But now with the program potentially ending, would that not be a potential roadmap for how to, I guess, deport people? Yeah. Is that the concern? I mean, what's at stake in the ruling that's going to be coming down in November?
Yeah, well, that is definitely a concern, and one of the concerns that DACA recipients had signing up to the program in the first place. But I think, too, there's just a greater concern of all of a sudden almost 1 million young people in the United States losing their work permit, not being able to drive, becoming at risk of deportation, being pushed back into the shadows. So if you think, too, just in terms of the impact on our economy, how many jobs will be lost, how many new hires businesses will have to do and train. And then again, like the opportunities we lose from losing their higher wages and their taxes that they're paying at those wages. And then the devastation to their families, to be able to know that they might be deported and separated from their families.
All right, we're going to take a break. If you're on the line, hold on, take a break, be back right after this.